It's Cory again. Gonna come on here and just talk about some things. Um, I see a lot of people that get on and try to preach and teach about things from within boxes of conformity. Now, we as a society are this network of information that we share, and not all of it's true. Most of it's just noise. Uh, Most of what's being spit out into the world today is just noise. At the end of the day, there's a truth that's so absolute that it can't be solely defined by the mind of man. And we, from a standpoint of perspective, we live in these bodies and we have this perception of the way things are. And that's essentially what creates the ego self. And the ego self is just a compilation of different ideological views and belief systems, guided by some kind of internal moral compass that one believes to be just and true. But ultimately, a lot of it's shared information across this vast network that we call humanity. But the only issue with that is that there's a lot of what we call these days misinformation floating around as well. Like, just because someone thinks, therefore it is. No, that's not the case. Matter is an exist is a realm that exists. Oh, what's up, TC? Hey, how you doing this morning, TC? I'm doing good. I'm doing good this morning. Just sitting here and was thinking about some things. God was showing me some things, and it goes back to the about matter being like a medium, right? We're like living artistic expressions of our creator. That's what we become once the choice is made. That's what's up, TC. So, yeah, I just wanted to get on here today and kind of talk about that a little bit because I see a lot of people, man, on here preaching and teaching, and that scripture even says not all are called to preach and teach. You know, I see a lot of people preaching religion, and religion is something that's oftentimes preached from within a box of conformity, the understanding of the mind of man. Often there's like 44,000 different denominations within Christianity alone, give or take. Someone can go and fact check me on that right now. And each one of those denominations claim exclusively, for the most part, to be the way, right? What's up, Brian? So the issue with that is if you look at each one of those denominations, you can go back to someone somewhere being shown something remarkably, and they put their own little human twist on it. So, good morning, Brian. That's the issue with it, and in modern day Christianity, as defined by man, and its 44,000 different denominations, was the answer, then why is the world in the state that it's in currently? Now, one could ask that, and one could speculate on multiple different levels why that might be. But at the end of the day, just as I'm not defined by no one, I'm not defined by the mind of another man, so too is God not defined by the minds of men. God is defined by himself. He defines himself clearly. God is love. God is above the entire system. He created the whole system. God doesn't make mistakes. As the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, let me tell you something. When he created them angels, he knew a third of them would fall. He knew exactly what they would do. And even in states of rebellion, his will is played out precisely on point. So that means God is above the entire system, not defined by any single part of the system. God is the whole. See, I see a lot of people these days counting themselves equal to God, saying we are God. That's not the case. I'm not God. I'm just a body, and I might have his essence, but I myself am not the whole of God. Only a fool counts himself equal to God. Hey, what's up, y'all? Only a fool will count himself equal to God. Because even if like, I'm not trying to present God in this fairy tale fashion. Like, we're living in a time right now. We're living in the middle of a great awakening. And I started talking about this great awakening when he showed it to me back on May the 30th of last year. He said, now is the time of a great awakening and the end will follow. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, but then all of a sudden, like, light started shining upon this realm that we live in, and we see that a lot of our leaders are doing these non-human things, like consuming, you know what I'm saying, harvesting people. You know what I'm saying? That's non-human. And now the light's shining on the fact that they've been involved in dark occult practices forever. And I'm not just talking about the leaders of this nation. I'm talking about the leaders of nations, right? They are the first beast, and they're breathing life into the image of the second beast. I have a video on my shorts. Yeah, well, a lot of them. But check this out. What does end times actually even mean? End times is almost like dispensations of time. But everything's going to change. Like, we see, this is a fact right here, is that energy can't be created or destroyed, but it can be delegated. So if it can be delegated, we know that in history, we could see that matter is something that's constantly changed, evolving throughout time. And it is, in fact, an expression of energy. Like, matter itself is lifeless. So, like, right now, there's something inside me animating me. But whenever my time comes to an end here in this realm, this body will be left behind. But whatever's animating goes somewhere else. It's delegation of energy. So our soul energy in this realm is oftentimes manipulated to focus upon the things that this occult system that has taken control within this realm, because it's a valley of shadows. All we're here for is to choose who we're going to serve. You're either going to serve love or you're going to serve the absence of love. And that's just fact. That's just fact. Everything else is a derivative of that single choice. You're either going to serve love or serve the absence of it. And in darkness, it's either going to refine you by your rejection of it, or it's going to define you by your embracing of it. And that's just facts. Now, those are undeniable facts, though, too. I'm not speaking from some fantasy land of uncertainty. I mean, these are all things that we can look at, and they can be proven upon evaluation. So, and I'm not, once again, not preaching religion here, because I believe that in itself is part of the system that we are to reject. I mean, a lot of modern day Christianity makes Jesus Christ a scapegoat. But what he himself truly was and was the Father perfectly expressed through the Son to show us the way as sons and daughters back home by the way of humility through the Spirit of God. And that Spirit of God brings us low enough so that in the ashes of what once was considered the self, but was only a false representation of the self, the ego self. In those ashes, something is gained through that humility that gets you to that ash heap of the ego. Something is gained that cannot be taken from you, something that's eternal, something that forever ties you into something more than just this world. And you no longer take on the mind of the world, the ego self. You begin to take on the mind of Christ. And the mind of Christ shows you through all the lies and all the noise. And you see the truth. And the truth is that God is love. And that if you're operating in love, then it'll be very evident. And if you're operating outside of love, that'll be evident too. But he's got some that are still caught in the deception of darkness. Darkness is simply like a cloak. Darkness itself is not the evil. Darkness is the illusion that evil has manifested. Darkness is the evil. Darkness is what evil has manifested within our realm. It's the illusion of things. It says that in those times he'll hand them over to a debased mindset. Debased mindset? What's that mean? That means exactly what it is. We have this society, this system of things. We all follow each other, and oftentimes we're part of some kind of tribalistic separation. Either we're proud to be an American, or we're proud to be a Republican or a Democrat, or we're proud to be white, or proud to be black, or proud to be Hispanic, or proud to be a man, or proud. Any of those prideful, divisive, tribalistic mindsets is part of the mind of the flesh. Now, that's a fact. I mean, who can actually deny that? You can't deny that fact. But when you realize that we ourselves are merely just souls contained within this vessel, and that the entirety of our life's decisions is not reflected on us singularly, but on the body as a whole, we take those mistakes, what the life that had brought us low, and we see the beauty in the ashes. Because if we can't get to the ash mound, we're cooked. We're cooked, man. If you can't make it to the ash mound, if you can't see past all this lies, the deception of it all, man, you can't be part of this world and be part of Christ at the same time. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve two masters. You got to come up out of this, the deception of it all. Now, though you're in the world, you don't have to be of the world. And when I say that, I'm not talking about some list of rules or going and joining some church and going in and getting caught up in all the false modesty and stuff. I'm just talking about wherever you're at right now, reaching out to the real God, calling out to the real God. Say, God, I hear all the noise, God. I hear all the noise in the world, but I want to know you. I want to know the real you, God. Come to me wherever I'm at. And you got to do it with an honest heart, because a pair of lips can say anything. And I'm not even telling you to repeat after me. I'm just saying you got to get somewhere in life that you can get real with God. And you'll know when you get there, because you'll stop giving a damn what everybody else thinks and what everybody else has to say on the matter, because he'll reveal the truth to you in a way that's undeniable. It says we have no need that anyone should teach us. We have the Holy Spirit, and it will teach us all things and bring all things to our remembrance. All right? And I'm proof of that, man. I was in a car wreck when I was 13 years old. I had a traumatic brain injury. I'm considered permanently disabled, man. Like, that's what I'm considered, right? I was a drug addict, strung out. Like, I don't have nothing more than a GED. I didn't go to get raised in church. I found the real God in the ashes of whatever my ego was. Like, that man had to come to this place where he no longer could exist beyond that point, because there had to be something new that was created. in conjunction with Christ, right? And that, I'm just saying that there's a lot of people on here saying a lot of stuff, but don't get caught up in the things that people say. Seek God for yourself. Seek the real God. If you got an honest heart and you're truly seeking, you're going to find him. You're going to find, I promise you, you're going to find him, because God ain't no liar, man. God ain't no liar. It says, asking and it'll be given to you. Seeking, you will find. Knocking, the door will be open to you. And I'm going to tell you something right now. You can hold me to that. If you seek him with an honest heart, you're going to find him. Because he's love. And love, when it reveals itself to you in a way, nothing's the same anymore. Nothing's the same anymore. And, you know, I might look a little off or seem a little off, and that's okay with me. Because if a little off means in love with God, then I'd rather be a little off than be, you know, in line with the system of things and in line with the world today, man. Because everywhere you go, everybody's in a shitty mood all the time. Everybody, that's why I don't even like going anywhere, man. Everybody is just so self-consumed by the system of things and the oppression that this dark. Everybody thinks, oh well, all this technology, the world's doing. Man, look, that technology wasn't free, man. It came at a cost, and one day people will see that. One day people will see that we should have stayed in a more primitive state where we kept our families together and kept our value structure intact, and we cared about each other and loved each other and sought after God and not after this crazy stuff that we're looking after today. Like, oh yeah, what's up? Hey, how you doing, Amber? Yeah, that whole video I did on that all-seeing eye on the back of that dollar bill, man, that's, if you really get in the comment section on that, that's where some real meat is on that. And it's true. I mean, like, I always encourage everybody to go and fact check me, because all this stuff is stuff that God's put upon my heart to, and since 2014, man, whenever I gave my life to him in that place I was at, and I started seeking after him, man, he started showing me all this stuff along the way. But it really went from where I could barely touch to where I can't touch back in May the 30th of last year. That's where it went from, oh, now I'm just fully trusting in God, swimming in the deep end. And he's been showing me some things that, but once again, you know, read all Job's will, be gone in 20 years. The thing is, man, is that we just gotta hold together and trust that beyond the minds of man, there's he who picks out every superposition. Because the quantum physics and all that, like, it's a discovery of something that's real, that's visible, but it's been given a new name, relabeled by man. But it's something that's been here since the beginning of civilization. It's been there. It's just technology has given man the tools necessary to actually discover such things at this point in time. But what is it actually? To me, what it seems like is man has discovered the spiritual realm, and he's relabeled it the quantum realm, because within that quantum realm, there's something within that quantum area that picks out the superposition. And if you really just look at that and think about that, the scripture says that he works out all things for the good of those who seek after him and who love him, you know what I'm saying? And then when I think about that personally, I feel blessed that I was never like a celebrity or somebody in the elite status, because I feel more it's hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, because rich man's not necessarily rich with the things of with money or anything necessarily. It's oftentimes a rich man is rich with the things of this world. He builds up for himself an image that he projects into the society, and that image is more important to him than seeking the lowly image of Christ. A humble servant. Power warps people. It does warp people. Really, man, I feel blessed to have gotten in that car wreck. I feel blessed to have struggled with addiction. I feel blessed to have been brought so damn low in life that I could see beyond myself for a change. Because I'm going to tell you, I used to be caught up in it, man. I mean, I got a little woodpecker on the back of my neck, and I've been down through there. I've hung out with some rough crowds, but God used all of that to show me that, like, hey, like, you think you're tough, but you're not that tough, and I'm gonna bring you low through all of this, and I'm gonna show you that any version of you that you ever think that could exist is not gonna be as good as the you that can exist if you just come up out of it. The ego self, man, you gotta come up out of it. Because if you think about it, it's the self that's developed around all the lies. Let me see. Yeah, empathy's lacking in the world because many people have become lovers of themselves. And truly, people ain't even lovers of themselves. They just conform to a pattern, a projected narrative handed down by an occult worshiping system. I mean, all the signs are there. It's on our currency. It's in our the United States Capitol of Washington D.C. All the monuments and stuff, all the symbolism's there. They've been involved in this stuff for a long time, and as long as we continue to just mosey right along to it all, it's going to continue to happen until one day it won't anymore, because eventually, and even now, the light is being shined upon the deceptive things of man, and things are being revealed for what they truly are. We live in a character-based society, but the world as we know it is fixing to change in a way, because it's not going to be about the character that we project. I talk about it all the time on here, how there's a way that a lot of people will project themselves in a professional setting, or in a church setting, or in a Walmart pushing their buggy setting, or driving down the interstate setting. And oftentimes that character will be different in each one. But that's because they live based on a character ethic rather than, and they're caught in the illusion of it all, the ego self. So the only way to break free from that is, for me, it was to be brought so damn low by making one mistake after another, and then it eventually just led me to this place where I was like, you know what, man, like, I'd rather just not even be here anymore. And it was in that moment of this great despair that I cried out to God. And look, I was the same guy that would cuss you out if you tried to tell me about Jesus. I was the same guy that would laugh in your face and mock you for it. But I was the same guy that cried out to him, and that he really showed up, man. He really showed up, and he saved my life. And he's been saving my life ever since, man. And like, everything in my life reflects the love of God, regardless of whether the way one might see it or not, because my life's not defined by the mind of another. Like, yeah, I ain't got no job, some would say, oh, well, you're not successful according to the standards set forth by society. Well, guess what? I don't base my life on the success and the standards set forth by society, man. To me, the most important thing to gain in this life is an understanding, a true knowledge of the truth. Like, beyond that, what does it profit a man to gain the entire world but lose his soul? God set me down so that I could see the truth. God brought me low so that I could see him from his eyes, from his perspective, because no other perspective can gain the understanding of the truth except the perspective that you gain from being brought into Christ and unified with him. Unified with him, because the ego don't exist anymore. The ego has been brought low. It was burned down to ash, to nothing, because in and of yourself, in and of yourself, you're just another notch in the tribalistic program. Step out of the program, man. You don't have to be part of this tribalistic world, man. Everybody's got their views and opinions, and and really, when you step about all of it all, you see that consciousness itself is the same, starts off the same for everybody. But as they go through time and space, and the vessel that they were implanted within, that their gain, what's gained for them is the same thing that was gained for each and every one of us: an ego, a perspective, behaviors, and ideological views, and all that crap. And we call it the self, but it's not the self. It's something that was handed to us, a narrative that was handed to us by a world that we don't belong to. And all I'm asking people to do is not follow me or repeat after me. I'm not asking anybody to do that. I'm just asking you to think about what I'm saying. Think about what I'm saying. The institutionalized Christianity and religion, if it was the solution, then why are we at this problem in our current status of civilization? It's not. Seek after the truth. Seek after the real God. He's there. He's waiting on you, and he is love. He's not defined by the minds of man. He's defined by himself as love. And if you seek him, you'll find him. You'll find him. I'm just saying. I might seem a little crazy, might seem, but this is what my heart's all for right here, man. Because beyond this, nothing else truly matters. It's all. Apart from love, existence is in vain. It's only in vain that we exist apart from love. Let love refine you. Let love define you. God is in control of the entire system, of all things, of all created things, and all things are working together for the good of those who seek after him and who love him. I promise you, you put your faith and your trust in him, it won't be a bad decision. Now, once again, there's there's a lot to gain in this world, but is there? Is there really? At the end of the day, is there a lot to gain in this world? Because I've heard rich people complain about lack of fulfillment. I've heard people that have status and wealth and all this. I've heard them. They you see things all the time. They're not happy, man. Uh, that's not where it's at, man. That's part of the deception to wrap you up, because they're harvesting our soul energy. In case anybody was wondering, that's exactly what's taking place. If they can keep you engaged within this structurized system that they've handed to everyone, then it gains more power and more control. And that's what they're doing. That's obvious. So, although you're in the world and you're not of the world, I'm just asking people to consider the truth. There's some things in life that are undeniable facts. And when you really look at religion as defined by man, you see that there's some pretty undeniable facts that people have come along and put their own twist on things. But God is not defined by the minds of man. God's defined by himself as love. And each person's journey is just a little bit different than the next person's. And it kind of all, you know, works out for the good of those who love him. But the journey is just a little bit different for each one. I mean, we can read about Matthew, we can read about Mark and Luke and John, we can read about Job. You know, there's Joseph, Abraham, Isaac. We could read about all these different journeys, and we see that each one's a little bit different, but ultimately it's the same truth revealed to all of them. But the thing about it is when it's when it's real, it changes something inside you that gives you an understanding of truth in a way that you never had before. Because I myself am not studied or well versed in the scriptures or to I mean I've diligently studied the scriptures, but I'm not super well versed in them. Like, I'm not a biblical scholar or anything. I'm just a guy that came to the end of himself one day and decided, you know what? This world can have itself in the sense of the system of things. So I say all that, and I just get on here, and I don't get on here every day. I don't get on here every day. I see a lot of people that stay on live stream all the time. They got a lot of subscribers and all that. I'm not one of those, man. I'm gonna get on whenever God puts it on my heart to get on. When God gives me something to share, I'm gonna get on. Uh, I'm probably not gonna be on here singing anymore, doing the karaoke, because I just kind of feel like that's irrelevant in a time such as this, man. I feel like right now the only thing that needs to be coming out of my mouth are words that lead to eternal life. You know, hey, telling everybody that, hey, there's a truth beyond the minds of man, and it's not he's not defined by the minds of man, but and he can meet you wherever you're at. And my life is a living proof of that. It can meet you wherever you're at, and he can use whatever mistake you've been through to show you a truth beyond all truth. Because in this world, there's just a lot of noise, man. It's a lot of noise. But there's only one truth that's absolute beyond it all, and that truth is love. And love has the power to change the world and will one day. And that's why I get on here. I don't care if anybody ever knows who I am, but if one person along the way hears something that makes them think beyond the system of things, and they're able to awaken to the truth the way that God's awakened me, then it's all worth it. I'll get on here anytime he tells me to. If that one, even if it's just one, because it's not, it's not about me. Oh, I led 5 people to salvation. It ain't about that, man. It ain't about notching my belt. All it is, I don't even care if I ever know if something I said made somebody think about it enough to where they gave all that they were to God and came up out of that ego self and into Christ. I don't care if I ever even know about it, man. Like, all I care about is doing what he told me to do and saying what he told me to say, and going out and preaching the truth while all this noise is being spread around, all these lies, and people are seeking people are seeking, but they're getting caught up by these little snares along the way, these little religious snares, these people that preach this religion that says, you know, not all are called to preach and teach. There's a truth that's only revealed to the ones who truly seek it, and that's his beloved. And we have to come to a knowledge of that truth to come to the end of the ego self. That's all there is to it. If you don't come to a knowledge of that truth, then you won't come to the end of the ego self. And the way of Christ is a narrow way, and it's a hard way, and few you'll find it, because it's a matter of perspective. You have to be brought low enough to see it from his perspective. And then when you see it from his, you realize that if you would have been born as somebody else, and lived their life up to that point, you would have been the same conscience that made the same decision that you don't agree with in the state that you're in. And though we don't agree with others, it's not for us to judge, it's God to judge. We're just called to love each other. And as far as it depends upon us, be kind to one another. And that's where the true power of God is. It's not, and no, I'm not going to go and unequally yoke myself together with things that are not godly. You know what I'm saying? Because if two people are traveling together, do they not have to agree upon a direction? So most of the time, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm far enough along where I'm just not gonna find myself in that position to begin with. But I'll talk to somebody, and I'll tell them. But God shows me people's hearts, and He shows me, and so I offer my love. And if they don't accept my love, I dust my feet and I move on, because not everybody's gonna accept the love that you have to offer in this world. Not everybody's gonna accept it. Sometimes you're going to have to just dust your feet off and move on. Because right now, we're living where the darkness is as thick as it's ever been right now. People are being handed over to base minds. People are doing things that are unimaginable. Unimaginable. Non-human behaviors are taking place in our modern society. And people are glorifying these inventions of the mind of man, technology, AI. And when you really look at that symbol, man, it's undeniable. The symbol, you can look it up. That pyramid with the eye, man. It's the all-seeing eye. It's a symbolism for Set, the Egyptian god of the underworld. And that eye is a human eye, illuminated with light. And that makes a perfect day. It makes a perfect day. They've known. And really, in all actuality, a lot of people won't accept this, but simulation theory as defined by man is off, but it's something like that. We're like a living code being played out in real time. The material world is just it's less real than the eternal spiritual realm that exists just beyond it all. That actually gives it, like when you really think about it, all things are held together by the breath of God, is what the scripture says. And then you think about all things being created of atoms, and those atoms are contained within this bubble of air called the quantum realm. And that quantum realm, in that, let's begin. In that quantum realm, there's a number of different superpositions, all every possible scenario plays out right there in that realm of superpositions, but only one's chosen as we move forward through time space. One's chosen, one's chosen, one's chosen, right? But what we can see, and that's undeniable, is that when you give your life to God, that you see that from the beginning of your life, that every one of those superpositions that was chosen for you, that you might have viewed as a burden or a struggle or a hardship, was the very thing that defines you through life's way and made you who you are in Christ Jesus. And when I say that, is that if you can get to that ash mound, where that ego dissolves in the ash, and you are taken into Christ, then everything in your life that was a struggle and a hardship was necessary, because apart from it, could you honestly say that you would have arrived at that moment? No, because if you were someone else in a different position in life, different superposition, maybe I could have been born into extreme wealth or extreme status. And a lot of times in this realm of understanding, we oftentimes envy those in those positions such as that, especially when we're fully submerged in the mind of the ego. We start envying the things that others have. And that comes from a false sense of security in those things. But once again, if without the struggles and hardships of life, it's impossible to be brought to the ash mound of the ego. That's where you meet the real God. That's where you meet the real God whenever you say, you know what? Any version of myself that exists other than this one version of myself that's surrendered to Christ Jesus through humility is just a deceptive version of myself, because that version of myself is choosing death. Because what's set before me is one choice, life or death. And he asked me with great expression, choose life. Choose life. Please. It's like a plea. Please choose life. I love you so much. Choose life. And so in those moments that you choose life, you begin to see that God's love and his light are projected through you and back to you within your life in the most unsuspected ways that we oftentimes disregard as just, and we take for granted, like maybe the love of a pet or the love of a spouse or the love of your mother or a sibling or your dad or just the love of a friend even, you know. And we oftentimes kind of chalk that up as, yeah, take it for granted. Well, it's there. It's always there. They love me, you know. But in all honesty, why do they love you? Why is love projected unto us in life? It's not for us to take for granted or to to just stomp it underfoot. It's for us to take it in and give it back out and become one with love. One with love through its very expression. Through its very expression. Because like I said, just like this painting right here, it's a painting. And before it was a painting, it was an empty canvas. When the artist put his brush upon the painting, it began to show a form. And what we project, we're like that canvas. And we're just a living projection of artistic illustration. We get a choice. He knows every choice. And that's a lot. That's another thing people often don't understand about God, because the minds of man has tried to understand it from the place of conformity inside the mind of man for far too long. And what that is that God doesn't make mistakes. Just because there's this system that we know as reality or all that exists, God is above all that exists. And God is the Alpha and the Omega. And if we, how could God have spoken all this time ago through the mouths of prophets and prophesied these things that have precisely come to pass with precision, right? And when I say that word precision, it means that they've come to be fulfilled in a way that is undeniable, right? And so whenever you look at that, one could only say that means that no matter what, all things work together for the will of God to come in to be fulfilled. Like otherwise, so that means that God is the Word, and the Word is truth, and the Word is only truly revealed to the hearts of the beloved, the ones that truly seek after Him with an honest heart. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's not about following these list of rules, because God's gonna God's gonna put His Spirit in you when you truly and honestly seek Him, and it's gonna start guiding you in ways that He'll clean your life up the way He wants it cleaned up, and He's gonna use little things. Like even Paul said, "Man, I asked God 3 times to take this from me, but He said, my grace is sufficient for you, for in your weakness I am strong." Sometimes people have little things in life that make them feel as though they are weak, but in their weakness, He is made strong. Because and and, and the thing is, man, there's this guy I just commented on his video. Uh, this morning, and he's really going through it because he seems like he's a new Christian, because it seems like right now this God is being talked about all over the world all of a sudden because everybody's waking up. It's a great awakening. But the only issue is there's a lot of lies being spit out all over religion, and people are naturally just kind of gullible to it all. And so the guy, he made a video and he's talking about how I got to detox from weed and nicotine, and I just I don't have the funds to be away from home and all this, and I understand all that. I get it. But what you're saying, man, is you're saying that religion has told you that you must conform to it, and only then are you presentable to God. No, 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 no. No, God comes and he accepts you. He loves you. If you seek him with your honest heart, he comes and he accepts you as you are, and God will change those things for you. And sometimes God will use those very things to help you reach out to somebody going through a struggle in whatever area. So I reached out to the guy and I told him, I said, yeah, I don't I don't know word for word remember what I told him, but I basically just told him, man, it sounds like you're caught up in the weeds of religion, and man has erected many a box from within a place of conformity and projected that very same thing upon the minds of many of others, you know. But at the end of the day, you seek after God and you'll find the real God. And you don't worry about the things that you feel like you can't change right now. God has it's God that does the work in us anyway. We only love because he first loved us. That's the only reason we have the ability to love anyway, is because he first loved us. It's God who does the work in us. It's God. And I'm living proof of that, because I didn't go to no seminary school. I didn't go to no college. I got a GED and a brain injury, man. I've been a drug addict most of my life. I don't have the capability of knowing and understanding the things that I know and understand now apart from the Spirit of God. Like, all I'm asking people to do is fact check me. Go and look up what I'm saying, because there's a lot of people that say a lot of things on here these days, and a lot of those things that the ends just don't meet up. But the absolute truth is a perfect, eternal circle. All the ends meet; they constantly meet, right? But that other stuff, man, semicircles. The ends just don't meet up, man. It sounds like the mind of man projected through some kind of form of indoctrination, right? At the end of the day, God is love. If you seek the real God, you'll find the real God. And the real God, he'll save your life. He'll save your life, because really, if up until said point, you just simply been existing. If you don't have the real God in your life, you've just been existing. But purpose has come. It's introduced itself, and it said, hey, I've been waiting for you to get to this moment. Maybe that moment 6 months down the road, maybe that moment was like 10 years ago. Maybe I'm talking to people that in the chat that have already arrived at that moment and made it past it, and they're firm, and but I'm saying these things because these things are things that need to be said. So many people claim to know Christ, but very few can feel comfortable discussing the deep nature of the things of God. So few can are feel comfortable, that so few speak outside of the cookie cutter. Oh well, John 3:16. That's my favorite verse. Yeah, it's everybody who goes to church on Sundays and goes and does whatever, you know. Church culture is one thing, man. It's tribalism, it's division, man. God is a unifying God. He's a God of love. And he came so that all could be saved, but not all are gonna choose life. Not all are gonna make that choice. I know that it's kind of kind of rough around the edges for me to come on here and speak against institutional uh, Christianity or religion, period, because that's what a lot of people base their entire life system off of. But at the end of the day, anyone who truly knows the real God knows that God is love, and that love is the single most powerful force in all that exists, and it has the power to change your life and take you from that ego self into this unification with the mind of Christ, and you're able to see past all the bullcrap of this world, and you're given freedom that you didn't have before, because the system itself is oppressive. It's oppressive upon the soul because it's harvesting the soul energy. If it can keep you focused and engaged on the things of this world and the ways of man, then you won't be thinking about making the right choice. You won't be thinking about the depths of God. If it can keep you distracted within man's erected system of things, then it can keep you caught up in the state of confusion. Because I know that for years I did search for God and institutional religion, but every time I got to these hard questions, I never had the answers. That it was just somebody hemming and hawing about, well, yeah, they dance, they kind of hem and haw around the question. But one of those questions for me was the story of Job. Like, why would God even do all this just to prove a point? And at the end of the day, the reason is because Job is one man in all of history. And he was one man within a vessel, but he was more than just one man because he was a soul within a vessel. And once that soul left out of that vessel, it went back to the Creator. And so the Creator, it says, who can say, why does a potter make with clay some vessels of noble use and some of not so noble use, right? Who has the right to say to he who formed me, why? No one. So at the end of the day, God used Job's vessel to display making it to the ash heap, man. Like, he'll darkness acts in subservient subjection to the will of God. It doesn't defy the will of God. We see that in the book of Job, where evil was directly in the presence of God, and he didn't smite it down right then. He didn't smite it down. And if we went by the narrative that plays out across religion, we'd think that there was this mighty battle that, and God, but see, nobody can answer certain questions on that. But at the end of the day, the expression of the story of Job shows that there's a lot of things in our lives that don't belong to God, but our life itself does belong to God. Our life itself does belong to God, because those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son. So they might be the firstborn among many brothers. I know I quote that a lot, but at the end of the day, he knows who's going to choose him, right? He knows who's going to choose him. So along life's way, darkness comes and it burns off. It takes away the things that are not supposed to be a part of you, in a way that of oppression. It comes in a way of oppression, but it can't take your life if your life belongs to God. There should have been my car wreck, I shouldn't have been here. They had to bring me back to life. Hit a tree at 70 miles an hour, didn't have a seatbelt on. When they came, my head was between the floorboard and the clutch. Broke my collarbone, broke my neck, broke ribs, arm, and most of all had the brain injury and was in that coma for a long time. Shouldn't have come back from that. One time I OD'd and was on life support. Shouldn't have come back from that. Along life's way, man, darkness has pressed upon me in ways that I shouldn't even be here, man. And I count it all joy to be able to get on here and say anything about God, man. Anything about God. Even if I just got on here and said, man, Jesus loves you. God came to show you the way. All right. So at the end of the day, man, like, darkness can't take your entire life if it belongs to God. And I know that I belong to God because there's been times that darkness pressed upon me so damn strong that I shouldn't even been here anymore. But here I am on YouTube live stream right now telling everybody about God. I got one person here. I know who it is. It's TC. I appreciate you being here, homeboy. I really do. Uh, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot left to say. I mean, I could go on for hours, really, but I would be saying a lot of the same things just over and over because at the end of the day, there's a truth that everyone needs to arrive at, and it's the truth of perspective. Like, Christ is the truth, right? I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me, right? It's self-explanatory. So when I say that's what Christ said is, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me, then you can see that he is the truth, and the truth has to come from the ashes, the ego, man. Like, if you're conformed by the patterns of this world and the ways of this world, then it's keeping you pulled away from the truth. Like, you got to get to it. You got to get to it. Everything, the things that happen to us that are hard in life, man, that don't make God bad. That makes God a loving God, because if struggle didn't strengthen us along life's way, then we'd all just be a bunch of pussies. Sorry for the word, but that's the truth. We all be so caught up in this status, wealth, or whatever, that we'd never see that those are the very things that keep us captivated, keep us engaged. So I thank y'all for joining me, and man, I hope y'all have a good rest of the day. TC. If anybody, well, I guess anybody got no questions, I could stay on here for a little bit just in case anybody got any questions. Sometimes I do. Well, you too, TC. We'll see you later, bud.